Welcome back, guys. After discussing about the resting membrane potential, now in this video let's discuss about action potential. Okay. Okay, now we are going to discuss about what exactly is this action potential. In the name itself it's there is action going on. Okay, what is this action? On the membranes of the excitable cells. Okay, on the membranes of the excitable cells there is this action going on. Okay, so this action potentials are propagating on the membranes of the excitable cells. Now, what are these excitable cells? Now, this action potential, so do you think are they going to be seen in each and every cell? Resting membrane potentials are seen in each and every cell. We know inside the cell there is a resting membrane potential. When compared to outside, the cell is having negative resting membrane potential, negative voltage is there. So, resting membrane potential is seen with every cell. But do you think these action potentials will be generated in each and every cell? No. The action potentials are seen with excitable cells like neurons and muscles. Okay. Now, first of all, what are these action potentials? Okay, we know that these neurons and muscle cells, they are capable of generating these action potentials. What is this action potential? What is the purpose of this action potential? Now we are going to discuss about the action potential in a neuron. Okay, see how to understand. Let me say someone is coming and touching my hand. For example, someone is coming and touching my hand. Now, will I be able to feel it or not? Tell me. Yes, I am feeling it. So, if someone is coming and touching here on my skin, I can able to feel it. Which means the information from this region, okay, the information from this area, tell me guys, is being propagated. Now, this information, it is now traveling. Okay, and where is it going? It is going to the brain, it is going to the cortex. So, how this information is going? When someone is coming and touching here, so this mechanical touch is converted into electrical impulses. Okay, now it's converted into electrical impulses, or you can say action potentials. Now these action potentials are traveling in the neurons. Now these action potentials are going to the central nervous system, it's going to the post-central gyrus somatosensory cortex, and I can be able to feel that touch here in my cortex. So how this information is being conducted, how this information is being propagated in the neurons. So that's we are going to discuss here in the action potential. So now look here carefully. Now basic understanding. Imagine here is the skin. Okay, whatever I have discussed with you, I am repeating the same thing. I am going to repeat the things again and again so that you will be having a better understanding. Okay, so here is the skin, and you know here is the cross section of spinal cord. Okay, there are ventral horns as well as dorsal horns. The ventral horns on the anterior side and the dorsal horns on the posterior side. You know the information is going to which horns of the spinal cord? Posterior horns or the dorsal horns of the spinal cord receive the sensation. They are sensory in nature. You know it. Now, when someone is coming and touching here, say on the skin, you know the touch receptor will be activated. Okay, the receptors will be activated. And these receptors are attached with what? The neurons. Okay. Now, this information about the touch, mechanical energy will be converted into action potentials, electricity in this neuron, Now, here is the cell body of this neuron. Okay. Now, this neuron is taking this information where this information is being conducted in the form of electrical impulses to the spinal cord. Okay. Now, my question is how this information is being propagated. This information is being propagated in the form of action potentials. Okay, that is depolarization and repolarization. Okay, so how this neuron is getting depolarized. Okay, so that's what we are going to discuss, how it is going to be depolarized and how the membrane is going to be repolarized. Okay, so now let's talk about this part of the neuron. Okay, the part of the neuron which is in your skin. The nerve endings are in your skin. Okay. Now I am showing you this part of the neuron. Okay, that part of the neuron which is under in your skin. Okay, in your skin here. Now tell me, what is the resting membrane potential of this neuron? Okay, this is the neuron ending. What is the resting membrane potential? Just like every other cell, this neuron is also having resting membrane potential, that is minus 70 millivolts. Okay, minus 70 millivolts. You know the resting membrane potential of the neuron is equivalent to, it is equivalent to equilibrium potential of chloride. It's a single liner question. Okay, in resting membrane potential I have explained you. What is equilibrium potential? I have explained you over there. So equilibrium potential of chloride is also minus 70. Resting membrane potential of a neuron is also minus 70. Okay, minus 70 millivolts. Now why there is this negativity? Why minus 70 millivolts is there? Why it is resting? See, why it is having minus 70 millivolts? The answer is, on this neurons, look, on this neurons, there is a transporter present. What is this transporter doing? It is taking 2 potassium ions into the cell and it's throwing out 3 sodium ions out of the cell. So 2 potassium is coming in and 3 sodium are going out. Okay, which means more positive charges are going out of the cell, less number of positive charges are coming into the cell. Okay, so what is the name of this pump? You know it, your favorite pump. It is sodium potassium ATPase. Sodium potassium ATPase. By using the ATP, it is throwing the 3 sodium out and bringing 2 potassium in. Okay, next, not only that, during resting state, even during resting state, these neurons, on their surface, they are having these leaky channels. So these neurons are permeable too. Okay, these neurons continuously, what they are doing? They are throwing the potassium out of the cells. Okay, the potassium is again going out. So potassium, from high concentration to low concentration, you know, your cells are bags of potassium. There is lots and lots of potassium is there inside the cell. So potassium is trying to go out. As the potassium is trying to go out, you know, the positive charges are going out. As the positive charges are going out, you tell me the cell will become negative. The cell voltage will become negative inside, and outside the membrane it will become positive. So outside there will be generation of a positive charge and inside there will be development of negative charge, because the cell is losing the positive charges. Okay, so cell is only, during resting state, cell is only permeable to potassium, so potassium is going out, only positive charges are going out, so inside negative charges will stay. Okay, I have told you in the resting membrane potential, in a cell, the number of positive charges and the number of negative charges are equal. Cell is an electroneutral compartment. Only now positive charges are going out. As the positive charges are going out, cell will become negative. The intracellular environment will become negative. Inside the membrane there is a negative voltage when compared to outside. So this you already know it. Okay, this you already know it. Now what I want you to know here is, sir, this cell is having which resting membrane potential? The resting membrane potential is minus 70 millivolts. Why it is minus 70 millivolts? Because this negativity is because of 2 reasons. One is contributed by sodium potassium ATPase. Okay, this is the reason number 1, and this is also because of potassium leakage. Potassium leak. Okay, you know what is the equilibrium potential of the potassium? The equilibrium potential of the potassium is minus 90 millivolt. Okay, different books mention differently. It's like 85 to 90 is some books mention. You can say equilibrium potential of potassium is minus 90 millivolt. Okay, so potassium is going out, potassium is going out. So here not only potassium is going out, you should understand, if only potassium is going out, I would say that this nerve resting membrane potential is minus 90 millivolt. If only potassium is going out, so it will create an equilibrium so that the nerve will generate a resting membrane potential of minus 90 millivolt. But here your neurons are not only having the potassium leaky channels, it's also having the sodium potassium ATPases. Okay, so because of this, ultimately this neuron have generated a resting membrane potential of minus 70 millivolts. So negativity. Okay, so let me show it in the form of a graph. Okay, let me take a graph here. Okay, here I am showing the graph. Now look, minus 90 millivolt. What is minus 90 millivolts? Minus 90 millivolts is the equilibrium potential. Okay, green color, equilibrium potential of potassium. But I am asking you, your neurons, are they having a resting membrane potential of minus 90 millivolts? No, because neurons are not only having the potassium leaky channels, but other leaky channels are also there. Sodium potassium pumps are also there, because of which it is having a resting membrane potential of minus 70 millivolt, minus 70. Okay, not minus 90, minus 70. Even though potassium is going out, okay, it's only having minus 70 millivolts because other ion channels are also there. Okay, now these neurons, they are having a threshold potential. One more potential is there, which is called as, look here, threshold potential. Okay, how much is that value? Minus 55 millivolts. Now you can ask me, what is this threshold potential, sir? Okay, let me write here, minus 55 millivolts is considered as threshold potential. Okay, so what is this threshold potential? Remember, threshold potential means the potential at which depolarization will be inevitable. Okay, the potential at which, or the voltage at which okay, the membrane voltage at which depolarization is inevitable. Now you will be still having a doubt. So what exactly is this depolarization inevitable? See, when you develop this minus 55 millivolt, for example, because of any reason, okay, because of any reason, in this neuron, look, in this neuron, if you bring the resting membrane potential, you know the resting membrane potential is minus 70 millivolt. From minus 70 millivolt, if you take that resting membrane potential to minus 55 millivolts, because of you have done something, because of that the resting membrane potential is reaching to minus 55 millivolts. Now immediately 100% for sure depolarization will happen. The neuron cell membrane will become depolarized. The neuronal cell membrane will become electrically positive. It will generate a positive voltage. Okay, so that is called as threshold potential. And what is the value of threshold potential? Minus 55 millivolts. So don't worry, I will explain what, step by step. Okay, so these are the three things. Potassium equilibrium potential is minus 90. Always potassium will try to create its equilibrium potential. Neuron ka resting membrane potential is minus 70. Threshold potential is minus 55 millivolts. Now, how action potentials are generated? Okay, we haven't discussed about it. What is this action potential? That is a propagation of depolarization on the nerve membrane. Okay, so a series of depolarization followed by repolarization. A wave of depolarization followed by the wave of repolarization is called as action potential. We haven't discussed about the action potential so far. Okay, we'll discuss about it. Now, look, again, let me draw. This is your neuron which is there on your skin. Okay, which is there on your skin. Now, on this neuron cell ending, okay, on this nerve ending, there are these channels present. These channels, they are sensitive to touch. Okay, what are they? They are channels, these are the sodium channels. These are sensitive to stimulus. Which stimulus? Touch. Okay, now See, when someone comes and touches, do you feel it or not? Yes, you are feeling it, which means the impulse is going, the information is going in the form of action potentials. Now imagine when someone is coming and touching very lightly, okay. For example, an ant is going here, not even an ant, think about a very small microorganism which is going here. Okay, there are millions and millions of bacteria which are moving in this area. Are you able to feel it? They are walking there, but you are not able to feel it. You are not able to feel it. Okay, for example, imagine there is a small paper piece. Okay, I am taking a small white paper piece. Okay, I am going to put it over here, or my friend is going to come and put it over here. Now, do you think I am going to feel it? Am I going to feel it a very small stimulus? I am not feeling it, but the paper is touching there. Okay, which means there are certain stimuli which you can't feel. Okay, for example, say I am coming and touching here, I am able to feel it. Okay, someone comes and touches here, I can able to feel it. But a very small stimulus, I am not going to feel it. So what exactly is happening? Let me show you. Okay, so let me draw the graph again. So in this neuron, tell me what is the equilibrium potential of the potassium. The equilibrium potential of potassium is 90 millivolt. So let me draw it here, equilibrium potential of potassium. Okay. Now what is the resting membrane potential? The resting membrane potential is minus 70 millivolt. Okay. So here, so nerve is resting. Okay, nerve is resting. So I am just keeping it as a straight line. Okay. And what is the threshold potential? So threshold potential is minus 55 millivolt. Here is the threshold value. Now when someone comes and touches here, when someone comes and touches this neuron, okay, someone is coming and touching here, so that touch will be responsible, okay, for the influx. When someone comes and touches here, here are the neuron cell linings present. Okay, here are the neuron cell linings present. When you comes and touches here, this touch, mechanical touch, is going to distort this membrane, neuron cell membranes. The nature designed the neuron cell membranes in such a way, when you go and touches them, that will cause the opening of the sodium channels, that will cause the leakage of sodium from the extracellular environment. So sodium will start to trickle in. Imagine I am giving a very small stimulus. Okay, I am giving a very little stimulus, small stimulus. When I am giving a very little stimulus, a lesser sodium is going to trickle in. Okay, lesser sodium is going to trickle in. So what happened to the resting membrane potential? Now as the sodium is coming into the cell, you know sodium is a positive charge. As the sodium is coming into the cell, look what is happening. So resting membrane potential from 70, now it is coming to minus 65 maybe, or it's coming to minus 68, 65, 64, means it is becoming a little positive. Okay, it's becoming little positive. Understanding? So because sodium is a positive charge, so it is becoming little positive. But this is a very light stimulus, only very little sodium came in. Okay. Now as the sodium comes in, what happens is, look, the membrane voltage, it is going to little up, and later it is again going to come back to normal, resting membrane potential. So it became little positive, and it's again coming back. Now why it is coming back? Okay, this impulse, whatever I have generated, it is died off. Why? Because the amount of sodium whatever is coming in, the same amount of potassium will go out. Okay, potassium is continuously leaking out. So positive charges are coming in, that will be balanced by the efflux of positive charges. So potassium goes out. So as the potassium is going out again, so what happened to this small potential? It goes up and come back. Now imagine. Now I am giving a little bit more stimulus. Okay, little bit more. Now imagine the first time the bacteria is going over there. I couldn't able to feel it. Why I couldn't able to feel it? Because what happened? Only little sodium came in. Resting membrane potential got little fluctuated, little positive, and again it is died off. Now I gave a little bit more stimulus. Okay. Now when I gave a little bit more stimulus, what happened? Now more sodium came in. Okay, more sodium comes in. Now because of the sodium, look what happened. Now again resting membrane potential it is increasing, and again it is died off. Okay, increased and it is dead cell. Why? Because even this sodium is not enough. Even this sodium, the amount of sodium that came in, even this is not enough to bring the resting membrane potential towards the threshold potential. So sodium came in, the same amount of potassium will go out. So it is also died off. So do you think I am going to feel this stimulus? The first two stimulus, okay, now I am not giving this stimulus, someone is giving this stimulus to me. Imagine, okay, my friend is giving this stimulus. He is giving two light stimulus to me. Now do you think am I going to feel it? No, I am not going to feel it. He is stimulating there, he is touching over there, but it is very, very light stimulus, very light stimulus. I couldn't able to feel it in my cortex. Okay, so these fluctuations which I have shown you here, these fluctuations, these are called as local potentials. So the ones which I have shown in the pink color, they are called as local potentials. Okay, they are called as what? Local potentials. Now tell me, are they action potentials? No, they are not action potentials. Okay, they are not action potentials. They are not responsible for the depolarization or repolarization. Okay, they had generated and they are died off. Okay, now look at what happened next. Now you are giving a powerful stimulus. Now you got bored. Why the action potentials are not getting generated? So now when you give sufficient stimulus, the stimulus which can bring the resting membrane potential to threshold potential. For example, see, this is sufficient stimulus. I am able to feel it. Now I am able to feel it in my cortex. Okay, if someone is coming and touching like this, I can able to feel it. So what exactly happened? When the stimulus is sufficient enough, what happened is, look, now it's a big stimulus coming. Now more sodium will come into the cell. More sodium comes into the cell. When compared to the amount of potassium going out, now this sodium influx is exceeding the amount of potassium that is going out. So as the more sodium comes in, now what happened? Now for the first time, say, the resting membrane potential is going and touching the threshold potential. Now you have, okay, now you have moved from the resting membrane potential to the threshold potential. Now on this neuron, now in this neuron, the voltage become minus 55 millivolts. So what happened? Now on this cell membrane, look carefully. Okay, on this cell membrane, and now new channels are going to open. Okay, new channels are going to open on this cell membrane, which are previously closed. Okay, so there are thousands and thousands of these channels which are previously closed. Now for the first time they are opening, which means nature designed your neurons in such a way. Nature has designed your neurons in such a way, once you reach to the threshold potential, once the resting membrane potential reaches the threshold potential, these channels will open for the first time. Okay, so what are these channels? See, the channels are opening. Okay, now this channel is opening. Now this channel, if you see, it is having two gates. Okay, now this channel is having two gates. Previously, beginning, do you know what happens? In the beginning time, this gate was closed. Now the gate was closed. Previously the gate was closed. This gate was open. This is the configuration. During resting K time, this is the configuration. But once the resting membrane potential is reaching the threshold potential, even this outside gate, which is called as the activation gate. Okay, so this outside gate, which is called as the activation gate, it is opened for the first time. And this gate, which I am showing you here, now this gate, which I am pointing here, this is called as the inactivation gate. So both the gates now are in open state. Already inactivation gate, from beginning itself, it is open. Now for the first time, activation gate flips open. Now what happens? Now from outside, lots and lots of sodium. Okay, lots and lots of sodium is going to come into the cell. Okay, lots and lots of sodium is going to come into the cell. When lot of sodium is coming into the cell, tell me what happens. Sir, now the cell membrane is becoming electrically positive. As a lot and lot of sodium is coming into the cell, the cell will become depolarized. For the first time, this is what is causing the depolarization. Now, inside the cell, the voltage become positive. Okay, so let me show you the same thing again, even if it takes some time, not an issue because you need to understand. Okay, so here I am showing you, you always know what is the equilibrium potential of potassium, minus 90 millivolts. Here is a minus 90 millivolts. Why I am showing this? There is a reason, later you will understand. Now here is a minus 70 millivolts resting membrane potential of neuron. Now what is this one? Minus 55 millivolts as the threshold potential of the neuron. Okay, threshold potential. Now see what happened. Now the stimulus whatever you have gave, now that stimulus has reached from the resting membrane potential to threshold potential. Okay, now what happened? Immediately sodium came into the cell. Immediately sodium came into the cell. As the sodium came into the cell, what happens? Look, what is happening to the voltage inside the cell? Now here is plus, I should say 0. I should say not plus, 0. Okay, now the voltage is going from minus 55, minus 40, minus 30, minus 20, minus 10, 0, and now it is becoming even positive, plus 10, something like this, plus 20. Okay, so the neuron is getting electrically positive, the voltage is getting positive. So this is called as a depolarization. Okay, so the electrical voltage, the voltage in the cell is moving towards positivity. Okay, now tell me which ions are coming into the cell? Sodium ions are coming into the cell. So sodium is coming in. As the sodium is coming in, sodium will try to establish its equilibrium potential. Okay, sodium will try to establish its equilibrium potential, that is plus 63. Okay, as the sodium is coming into the cell, sodium comes in. So the cell voltage will try to become plus 63. So that's why what is happening? Voltage is increasing inside the cell. Okay, it's going up. So this phase which I have shown here, which is going up, this is called as depolarization. Okay, depolarization. Now when the membrane voltage, when it goes above 0, it's going even above 0, it becomes plus 10, plus 20, it's going above. So this is called as overshoot. Okay, this is called as overshoot. Now the voltage is trying to become plus 63 because that's the equilibrium potential of the sodium. It's trying to become plus 63. Okay, sodium will always try to maintain its equilibrium potential. It establishes its equilibrium potential, so it's trying to go plus 10, plus 20, plus 30, something like this, trying to go to 63. But what happens? Look, now whenever there is an overshoot in these neurons, when it becomes plus 10, plus 20, near that time, immediately on the cell, a new channels will open. Whenever there is a positive voltage, okay, plus 10, plus 20, now on this cell, these are new channels open. These are voltage gated potassium channels. So voltage gated potassium channels are opened. Okay, let me draw here. So here I am showing you, this is a voltage gated potassium channel. Now this voltage gated potassium channels, now they opened. Okay, look what happens when what happens to the voltage gated potassium channels. So they are opened and potassium will start to go out. Potassium is going up. Not only this, one more thing I have to teach you here. So potassium is going out, okay. But what happened to the sodium influx? See, whenever there is a overshoot, whenever there is plus 20, something like this, plus 10, plus 20, something like this, this inactivation gate, it will close. Now the inactivation gate closes. Activation gate is open. Now this inactivation gate, it will close. So sodium entry into the cell stops. Okay, sodium entry into the cell stops. At the same time, potassium efflux started. So positive charges are not coming in and positive charges are going out. Okay, so what happened to the membrane voltage? The membrane voltage, look here, due to the closure of inactivation gate and the opening of the voltage sensitive potassium channels, potassium is going out. So membrane voltage will become decrease. Membrane voltage is decreasing. Okay, now where it is coming? It is coming down. So this phase where it is coming down, this is called as repolarization. Okay, so depolarization, tell me, depolarization is due to sodium influx via the voltage gated sodium channels. Voltage gated sodium channels. Now, why there is this repolarization? Repolarization is due to potassium efflux. Potassium, right? Efflux. Depolarization is due to sodium influx. Okay. Now, potassium is going out, potassium is going out. As the potassium is going out, see, voltage is becoming minus 55 and it is coming down to minus 70 again. Okay, minus 70 again. So it's coming back to resting membrane potential. Now, you have to understand, potassium always tries to establish its equilibrium potential. So potassium is going out, going out, going out, going out. So cunningly, what this potassium will do is more potassium will go out. Okay, trying to establish its equilibrium potential. So even more potassium is going out. That's why the membrane is getting more and more negativity. From resting membrane potential from minus 70, it's even getting more and more negative. So it's coming down, look, it's coming down, coming down, coming down. Ultimately, it becomes near to minus 90. So this phase, okay, let me highlight here. This phase where voltage even becomes more negative. Okay, so this is called as hyperpolarization. Hyperpolarization. But suddenly neuron just it woke up. Array, it shouldn't be minus. It shouldn't be minus 90. Sorry. Okay, the voltage is going to minus 90. So this phase where it is going to minus 90, where the membrane voltage is getting more and more negative. Okay, so this phase is called as hyperpolarization. Okay, so suddenly now neuron understand it shouldn't be minus 90, it should be minus 70. Resting membrane potential is minus 70 because of the sodium potassium ATPases. Okay, sodium potassium ATPases, and because of the other channels later it will come back to resting membrane potential. Okay, sodium potassium ATPases and other leaky channels will help it to come back to resting membrane potential again. So what are there? First of all, there is resting membrane potential. From resting membrane potential, you have to go to the threshold potential. From threshold potential, you have to go to the depolarization. After depolarization, there is a repolarization. Later, there is hyperpolarization, and again resting membrane potential. So what are the phases? Okay, now first look at the phase 1. This is the phase 1. Okay, they will ask you in the action potential of a neuron. In the action potential of a neuron, how many phases are there? Okay, so look carefully. There is phase 1. What is happening during phase 1? The voltage is going from minus 70 millivolt to minus 55 millivolts. Okay, so this phase is called as a phase 1. In phase 2, what happened? In phase 2, the voltage is sharply increasing. Okay, that is a depolarization. From minus 55, it is going to plus 10, plus 20. So that is called as depolarization. In phase 3, there is potassium efflux started. Okay, potassium efflux started and the inactivation gate of the sodium channel. Inactivation gate of the sodium channel closed. The inactivation gate of the voltage gated sodium channel closed. So sodium influx decreased. Sodium influx decreased. Potassium efflux is happening. So that's why there is a repolarization. Okay, and what's the phase 4? Phase 4, I have told you, the potassium is going out, potassium efflux continues. Potassium tried to establish its equilibrium potential. So membrane is getting more negative. Voltage is getting more negative. So that is called as hyperpolarization. Later, from hyperpolarization, again neuron it will correct itself and come back to resting membrane potential. So phase 5 is resting membrane potential attainment, that is minus 70 millivolt again. Okay, so these are the 5 phases in the action potential of a neuron. Okay, again what you need to know, see, let me discuss some important points about the voltage gated sodium channels. Okay, voltage gated sodium channels. So what you should know is, see, this voltage gated sodium channel, what are I am showing here. Okay, imagine this is the voltage gated sodium channel. See, it is having how many gates? It is having 2 gates. Okay, what is this gate called as? This gate is called as the activation gate, and the other gate is called as inactivation gate. Okay, activation gate and inactivation gate. Now, when a cell is resting, okay, let me write. First, when a neuron is resting, means no stimulus, nothing, a neuron is simply resting. So, what is the configuration of this voltage gated sodium channel? The voltage gated sodium channel was something like this. During resting stage, the activation gate was closed and inactivation gate was open. Okay, resting के time में activation gate closed and inactivation gate it's open. Okay, so when you give stimulus, okay, when you give stimulus, and that too this stimulus is reaching the threshold potential, once the threshold potential is attained, what happens? Now both the activation gate and inactivation gate, okay, during depolarization, both the activation gate and the inactivation gate both are opened. Okay, both are opened like this. As both the gates are opened, you know, from outside sodium will come into the cell, because you know the extracellular concentration of sodium is more outside the cell, so sodium will try to come into the cell. Okay, now one more point which I want you to know. Imagine on a cell surface, this is a cell surface. Okay, the cell surface, the cell membrane. Now in this cell membrane, let me show you the other color for better understanding. See, this is the voltage gated sodium channel. Okay, these are all voltage gated sodium channels with activation gate and inactivation gate. Okay, for example, let's say 3 voltage gated sodium channels are there, activation gate, inactivation gates. Okay, whenever there is a depolarization, once threshold potential is attained means, how many of this voltage gated sodium channels will open? Once threshold potential attained means, okay, for example, I gave a stimulus, this is a powerful stimulus, okay, powerful enough to make the resting membrane potential go towards the threshold potential. Once the threshold potential is attained means, for example, if there are 3 voltage gated sodium channels, how many channels will open? How many of them will open? 10%, 50%, 100%, all. Okay, so once threshold is attained, let me write here. Once threshold potential is attained, okay, all the voltage gated channels, okay, voltage gated sodium channels will open. Okay, so don't think like, for example, if I give a little stimulus, a few channels will open. If I give more stimulus, more channels will open. No, it's not something like this. Now both the stimulus are powerful enough. Both the stimulus, for example, one and this is second one. First stimulus is light when compared to the second stimulus. See, both the stimulus I am feeling, both the stimulus I can feel, but during both the stimulus, all the voltage gated sodium channels are opened. It's not like when low stimulus is there, less number of sodium channels will open. When more stimulus is there, more number of voltage gated sodium channels will open. It's not like that. Once the threshold potential is attained, the resting membrane potential is going to the threshold potential. all the voltage gated sodium channels in that part of the membrane will open, leading to the influx of sodium. Why there is influx of sodium? Because sodium is more outside the cell when compared to inside. Which gate opened during depolarization? It's the activation gate which is opened during depolarization. And during repolarization time, what happened? Okay, so during repolarization time, what happens is the activation gate, look, the activation gate is kept open, it's kept open. This inactivation gate which was open so far, now it start to close, it start to flip and it is closing. Now it's closed. So what happened to the sodium influx? The sodium cannot enter into the cell. Okay, sodium cannot enter into the cell. So during repolarization, there is no net sodium influx into the cell, there is no sodium coming to the cell, only potassium is going out. Okay, so this is the configuration. Activation gate is open, but the inactivation gate is closed. Inactivation gate is closed. And again, what happens? See, now I have told you here. Okay, again what happens? Again the voltage is coming back to resting membrane potential. So later what happens is when the cell is coming to resting membrane potential after a repolarization, and during hyperpolarization, what is happening? During hyperpolarization, they are again coming back, they are setting back to original. Okay, so later what happens is the activation gate, look here, again these channels have to go back to their original position. Okay, so the activation gate starts to close and the inactivation gate starts to open, it starts to open. So finally during resting state, what happens is after hyperpolarization, during resting के time में the activation gate will be closed and inactivation gate will be opened, completely opened. So this is the configuration of the voltage gated sodium channels during the different phases of the action potential. Okay, so having said that, now I want to ask, sir, what are these fluctuations which I have discussed earlier? Resting membrane potential is getting little positive and it is dying off. Resting membrane potential, it is getting little positive and it is dying off. So what are they? They are local potentials, they are not action potentials. Okay, so local potentials are not responsible for the action potential. Okay, they are not responsible for the action potential, they are not responsible for the propagation. They are called as the graded potentials. Let me write here, local potentials, they are not responsible for propagation of electrical impulses or action potential. They are not responsible. They are called as graded potentials. Why they are called as graded potentials? See, in the beginning of the story, I have told you, in the beginning of the story, you give little stimulus, there is little change in the membrane voltage. If you give a little bit more stimulus, there is a little bit more change in the membrane voltage. Okay, they are graded, means the little you stimulate, the little fluctuation. The more you stimulate, the more fluctuation. But I have told you, I haven't yet told you, but later I will tell you, action potentials are not graded. Okay, action potentials are not graded. Local potentials, these are graded potentials. The little stimulation you give, little change. The more stimulation you give, the more fluctuation. So these things which I have discussed here, these are not action potentials, they are graded in nature, they are graded potentials. Okay, you can do summation with them. So summation is possible. So what is this summation? What is the concept of summation? Look, the concept of summation is, for example, say, now here I am talking about the voltage again. Here is minus 70 millivolt, the resting membrane potential minus 70 millivolt. Here I am talking about threshold potential minus 55 millivolt. Okay, something like this. Now look, I have given little stimulus, very little stimulus. So what happens is the voltage is fluctuating from minus 70, okay, and it's trying to die off. Okay, it become from minus 70, it is going to minus 68 or minus 65. When it is trying to die off, immediately I gave little bit more stimulus. Okay, I gave little bit more stimulus. So again, the membrane voltage from minus 65, it will go to minus 62. When it's trying to die off, again I gave, means repeatedly within a very short time, I am giving this little stimulus. Okay, I am giving very little stimulus, so that more and more sodium will come, adding up. Okay, so for let me show you here. Imagine this is a neuron. On this neuron, what are these sodium channels? These are touch sensitive sodium channels. These are mechanically operated sodium channels. Okay. Now, when you come and touch, first time little sodium comes in. As little sodium comes in, I have told you, the voltage is going from minus 70, it is going to maybe minus 68 or 65, little. When it's trying to die off, immediately I gave one more stimulus. This is also little only, this is also very little, but more sodium will come. Now, more sodium will come. Now immediately I gave one more stimulus, more sodium will come. See, which means you are increasing the amount of sodium inside the cell by giving repeated stimulus, repeated stimulus. So what is happening is fluctuating. The voltage is now fluctuating, means first stimulus, second stimulus, third stimulus. So these local potentials are adding up. So there will be a time it will reach. Okay, there will be a time it will reach to, okay, threshold potential. Means you gave 4. So first time, second time, third time, fourth time. So from the resting membrane potential, you have brought it to threshold potential. So there is possibility of summation. So that these are summated potentials. Within a less time, if you are continuously stimulating, the voltage is increasing. Okay, they are summated. Okay, they are adding. But such kind of thing is never possible with action potential. Now, what does I mean by is, for example, look here, there is action potential going on. Okay, the action potential is going on. Suddenly you gave stimulus here, means one more stimulus. Do you think action potential, the height of the action potential will go like this? No, it will never happen. So action potentials are not summated, they are not graded. Oh, what are graded and what are summated? These are local potentials. Okay, the local potential, that's why I have written here. Okay, so local potentials, they are graded potentials, they are summated potentials. Okay, but let me write here, action potentials are not graded, are summated. Okay, they are not graded or summated, means you can't increase the height of the depolarization. Okay, see how this action potential is going to propagate. So far we haven't discussed how this action potential is going to be propagating on the neuron membrane. Okay, how it is propagating when someone comes and touches here. For the first time, what you know is this part of the membrane, okay, this part of the neuron membrane, whatever the neuron which is present over here, this part of the neuron membrane got depolarized and it is getting repolarized. So what happens? How this electrical impulse will be propagated throughout the membrane of this axon, how it is propagated on the membrane of the membrane of the neuron, how it is. Now let me show you that. Again, let's say this is the neuron. Okay, now here I am coming and touching. Now tell me, what happened to this part of the neuron? For example, let's say the first part. What happens is, the resting membrane potential from minus 70 millivolts, if I give a powerful enough stimulus, okay, it's not a sub-threshold stimulus, a stimulus which can bring the resting membrane potential to threshold potential. I give powerful stimulus. So from minus 70 millivolt, the voltage is going to minus 55 millivolt. So what happened? Who will come into the cell? Sodium will come into the cell. First, sodium will come into the cell. Okay. As the sodium is coming into the cell, what happens? Depolarization. The sodium is responsible for the depolarization. Okay. Now, this sodium, whatever came here, Okay, this sodium whatever came here. Now do you think that sodium will stay only in that single area? It's going to stay in that on that single part? No. This sodium will go to the next side. The sodium will go to the the side, the nearby area. So this sodium, it is going here. Okay, some sodium will go there. So because of this trickling of sodium from here to here, now from here the resting membrane potential from 70 millivolts, it will reach as minus 55 millivolts. So threshold is attained. Now immediately when the threshold is attained, what happened? When the threshold is attained, immediately here in this area the voltage gated sodium channels are opened. So sodium will come into the cell. Okay, sodium is coming into the cell. Now when the sodium comes, now this part of the membrane is getting depolarized. First initially this part get depolarized and the sodium is going to surrounding area. So surrounding area is also getting threshold potential. So the surrounding area is also getting depolarized. Now when this area is getting depolarized, okay, this area too, when this area is getting depolarized, tell me what happened to this area number 1. Now it is trying to get repolarized. Because you know who will go out now? Potassium efflux started. Potassium is trying to go out. As potassium is trying to go out, now here repolarization. Okay. Now the sodium whatever came into the cell from this side, it is going to the nearby area. So from here, what happens? The minus 70 millivolts resting membrane potential is going to threshold potential. Now once the threshold potential is attained, now immediately this part of the membrane is getting depolarized because of sodium influx. So here it is getting depolarized. Okay. Now when this third area is getting depolarized, now tell me what happened to the second area. Now the second area is getting repolarized. Means you know depolarization followed by repolarization. So this is a self-propagating. Means once if you stimulate a neuron like this, now what happens? Depolarization is happening continuously. Means one area is going to stimulate other, one area is going to stimulate other, one area is going to stimulate other. So that wave of a depolarization continues throughout the membrane of the neuron. Okay, neuron from here, neurons are going to the central nervous system. So it is going to continue. So this is how the depolarization, the wave of depolarization is going, followed by the wave of repolarization. First depolarization follows, followed by repolarization. So it is self-propagating. You just start and leave it. It will go. So depolarization will go, followed by repolarization. Okay. So this is what I want you to know. This is how the action potentials are conducted in the neurons. I haven't explained you how myelination helps, what is called as a saltatory conduction. That I am not going to discuss in this video. In the next video, I will be telling you what is the role of myelin sheath, how myelination is going to increase the velocity in the neurons. Okay, who does that myelination? What is the saltatory conduction? That I will be explaining you in the next video. In this video, I have explained you what are the phases of action potential. What is action potential? Action potential is a wave of depolarization followed by a wave of repolarization, which is a self-propagating on the membrane of the neurons with the help of voltage gated sodium channels and voltage gated potassium channels. So this is something only special to two types of cells in your body, two types of tissues in your body. One is nerve cells and muscles. Nerve cells and muscles, they will do this. Okay, depolarization, repolarization will be going on their membranes. Okay, now apart from this, what else I should teach you is the concepts of refractory period. Okay, what are refractory periods? So refractory periods are like leisure, they are like break period. How to understand this? Imagine, okay, you are continuously studying. Okay, for certain time you are continuously studying. Okay, what you will do after for some time, you will be taking break. Okay, you will be taking break. Whatever, okay, the other person is trying to say to you, you are saying like you are strict in certain things, you are going to follow the time. Okay, I have studied for 5 hours, so I am going to take a break. Okay, whatever you say, whatever you do, you give me money, you give me chocolates, whatever you do, I am not going to study for certain time. Okay, so something like this. So even your neurons will take rest. So that resting periods are called as refractory periods. Okay, so let me draw the action potential again here. Now you know what is the resting membrane potential. Minus 70 millivolt is the resting membrane. Okay, resting membrane potential. What is the equilibrium potential? The equilibrium potential is minus 90 millivolts. Equilibrium potential of potassium minus 90 millivolts. Okay, let me draw it here. Next, what is the threshold potential? Threshold potential is minus 55 millivolt. Okay, enough. Now what happens in the beginning? Resting membrane potential will go to the threshold potential. If it is a powerful enough stimulus, the voltage will go from minus 70 millivolts to minus 55 millivolts. Threshold attained. Once the threshold is attained, immediately what happens? There will be depolarization. Membrane voltage is becoming positive. Okay, it's becoming positive. So immediately what happens? Whenever there is an overshoot, when it is going more than 0, means if it is going above 0, overshoot, and it's becoming plus 10, plus 20, immediately what happens? The inactivation gate closes. Okay, in this area, if you look at the configuration of the voltage gated sodium channels, now I am showing you, see, during depolarization, voltage gated sodium channel, the activation gate is open and the inactivation gate is also open. During this resting time, I have told you activation gate is closed. Okay, let me show here. Here in this area, the voltage gated sodium channels, activation gate is closed, inactivation gate is open, like this. Okay, now once there is a overshoot, the nature designed your cells in such a way, the nature designed these channels in such a way, once there is a overshoot and becomes it plus 10, plus 20, immediately what happens is there's going to be repolarization. The inactivation gate closes and the potassium efflux started. So it is coming down like this. Okay, so now what is the configuration here? Look, now here these voltage gated sodium channels which are responsible for the depolarization. Now activation gate is open, inactivation gate is closed. Inactivation gate close ho gaya. Okay, when there is repolarization happening. Okay, when there is repolarization happening. Okay, and again during hyperpolarization ke time mein what happens? During hyperpolarization time, again they are trying to set back to normal. Okay, during the time of this hyperpolarization, what happens is again the inactivation gate is trying to get open and the activation gate is trying to close. Okay, close means they are trying to set back to normal. So when it comes to resting again, during resting ke time mein activation gate completely is closed and inactivation gate opened. Okay, inactivation gate opened. So what we are discussing about the configuration of the voltage gated sodium channels according to the different time periods of the action potential. Now see, I have told you that when you are working for some time, you are going to take rest. Now during this period, say I am going to show in a green color from here, this point, what happened? Depolarization started. Now when the depolarization started, see, voltage gated sodium channels are open now. They are completely open. Okay, activation gate is open, inactivation gate is open, so sodium is coming into the cell. All the voltage gated sodium channels, if there are 1 million voltage gated sodium channels, all the 1 million voltage gated sodium channels are open, completely open. Okay, there is no partiality, 50% open, 50% not open, nothing like that. Everything is open. All voltage gated sodium channels open. So sodium is coming into the cell. So even if you give one more stimulus to that part of the membrane, okay, even if you give stimulus during this time, during depolarization time, you are giving one more stimulus to the same part of the membrane. Do you think it can generate one more action potential now? No, it's not possible, because all the voltage gated sodium channels which are responsible for the depolarization, anyway they are open. Okay, So if all the channels are open, how is it even possible to generate one more action potential? Not possible. One more depolarization? Not possible. So starting from here, the entire depolarization, the time for the entire depolarization, it's taking some time. And during repolarization, look, repolarization time, the nature designed the channels in such a way, during repolarization, the inactivation gate is closed. If the inactivation gate is closed, do you think sodium will come in? No. So now during this time, okay, during this time, you are giving stimulus again. You are giving stimulus again. Whatever you do, how much strong stimulus you give, okay, the inactivation gate will never open. Whatever you do, how much big stimulus, you just put an atom bomb over there, the inactivation gates are not going to open. Okay, so I'm telling you that is important. How much ever you give the stimulus, the inactivation gates are not going to open. So one more action potential, one more depolarization, the sodium influx is not possible. Okay, so all this period, during all this period, okay, till here, okay, till here, the entire repolarization, okay, so from where to where? Starting from the depolarization, and again the voltage is going down the resting membrane potential during repolarization time, repolarization time, repolarization time. Now here at this point that I am highlighting in the red color, see, now till that time, depolarization and repolarization. Now till here, how much ever the stimulus you give, whatever you do, the neuron is not going to generate one more action potential, because during depolarization all channels are open, and during repolarization voltage gated sodium channel inactivation gates are closed. So it's not possible, it's not possible to generate one more action potential. Okay, it's not possible to generate one more action potential. Okay, so this period which I am going to highlight now again in green color, from time period from here till here. So this time period, okay, so this time period is called as absolute refractory period. Okay, so this period is called as what? Absolute refractory period. Okay, now it's a little confusing here to show. Let me draw it again one more time. Just time, here I am showing the time on the x-axis. Okay, on the y-axis I am talking about the voltage. What is the normal voltage? Resting membrane potential. Resting membrane potential is minus 70 millivolts. What is the equilibrium potential? The equilibrium potential of the potassium is minus 90 millivolt. And what is the threshold potential? The threshold potential is minus 55 millivolt. Okay, minus 55 millivolt. Now when a stimulus is powerful enough, the resting membrane potential from minus 70, it is going to threshold potential minus 55. From here, once threshold potential is attained, immediately what happens? A depolarization happens. Now after depolarization, once the overshoot happens, once the membrane potential becomes positive plus 10, so immediately what happens? The activation gates are open, but the inactivation gates are closed. The inactivation gates of the voltage gated sodium channels are closed, and potassium efflux started. So voltage is coming down like this, down, and it will become resting membrane potential again. Okay, so starting from this time, from here, starting from the depolarization and till here. Okay, so this period, time period till here. Okay, so this time period, during this time period, whatever you do, okay, during this time period, whatever you do, neuron is not going to generate one more action potential. Okay, but look, here during hyperpolarization time, I have told you, okay, what is happening? The activation gate is open and inactivation gate is also open. They are trying to correct themselves, they are trying to come back to their original position. Okay, because look, repolarization time, during repolarization time, this is the status of the voltage gated sodium channel. The voltage gated sodium channel was like this. The activation gate was open, but the inactivation gate was closed. But this is not normal. Okay, this is not normal. So it should come back to its original position. What is original? activation gate should be closed, inactivation gate should be open. So during this hyperpolarization time, what happens is the activation gate is trying to close, and the inactivation gate is opening. Okay, inactivation gate is opening. Okay, inactivation gate is opening. So during this time, see, now both the gates are open. Now look, during this time, if you give stimulus which is a little bit more than usual, okay, for the first time, see, this much stimulus is enough. This much stimulus is enough to produce a action potential. This much stimulus is enough. This much stimulus is enough to bring the resting membrane potential to threshold potential. But now that stimulus is not enough. During this period, if you want to generate one more action potential, now you have to give little bit more stimulus. If you give little bit more stimulus, one more action potential is possible. Because why little bit more stimulus you have to give? Because now the neuron membrane is hyperpolarized. Now it is even more negative. So you have to bring the voltage from here till here, till threshold. See, means you have to give more stimulus. You have to give more stimulus to bring the voltage from minus 90 to minus 55. But in the beginning, for production of the action potential, how much is enough? In the beginning, from minus 70, you have to bring it to minus 55. This is enough. Okay, that little stimulus is enough. Now, if you want to produce one more action potential, you have to increase the stimulus. Okay, so this period which I am showing from here till here, so this period is called as a relative refractory period. Okay, relative refractory period. So if you want to generate one more action potential during this relative refractory period, you have to give more stimulus, more than normal. So how many refractory periods are there? There are two refractory periods. Okay, for example, imagine there is a worker who is working with you. Okay, there is a worker who is working with you. Okay, now he is doing work. Okay, he is doing work and he is tired. He is going to take rest. He is so much tired. Initially, he is so much tired. You are saying, okay, you are working for 100 rupees, right? For example, let's say you are working for 100 rupees, or let's say $100. You are working for $100. Okay, now this is the usual pay. Okay, I have to give you $100 and you have to work. Now he is totally tired. He is working and he is totally tired. Now you give him $100. Now he will say, whatever you give, sir, $100, $200, $10,000. This is my break time. I am not going to work. Now he is totally tired. It's impossible for him to work. Okay, so that is the time of depolarization and repolarization. But when a neuronal membrane, when the neuronal membrane is in the hyperpolarization phase, okay, now he have taken some rest and now he is a little okay. Okay, but now you tell him, say, okay, normally I will give you $100. Now I am giving you $200. You work. Now he will work. Okay, so normal $100, if you give $100, he is not going to work. Okay, because he have taken some rest. Now he is okay. Okay, now he is okay, and now he is saying, if you give me $100, sir, I am not going to work. Give me more. So during the relative refractory period, same thing is happening. During the relative refractory period, a normal stimulus is not enough to bring the voltage to threshold. You have to give little bit more stimulus to bring the voltage to threshold. So these two are the refractory periods. The question which will come in your exam is during absolute refractory period. Okay, during absolute refractory period, there is no generation of a new action potential due to the inactivation gates of sodium channels are closed. That's the question which was previously tested in the exam. Okay, during depolarization, both the gates are opened. During repolarization, inactivation gate is closed. So whatever you do, how much ever you try it, it's not going to open. So no new action potential. So with this, refractory periods are also completed. Later, what else you should know? There is something called as all or none law. All or none law. See, what is this all or none law? By this time you already know it. Look, okay, let me draw it here. See, here minus 70 millivolts resting membrane potential. Here is minus 55 millivolt, that is the threshold potential. Let me draw threshold with a different color. It is the threshold potential. Okay, now I am giving stimulus, powerful stimulus. For example, a stimulus like this, it's powerful enough, to bring a threshold potential to, like it's powerful enough to bring the threshold potential to, resting membrane potential to threshold potential. Look what happened when I give a stimulus, the resting membrane potential reach the threshold potential. So what happens? Immediately depolarization is going to happen. This is depolarization. You know, after depolarization what happens? There will be repolarization and little bit hyperpolarization, and again resting membrane potential. Okay, again resting membrane potential. Now look carefully. This is one thing, one stimulus done. Now for the next time I am giving little bit more stimulus. I am giving more stimulus. Okay, when I give more stimulus, definitely you know it, this is the second thing, the threshold potential is going to reach the resting membrane potential is going to reach the threshold potential. Okay, so what happens now? If I am giving more powerful stimulus, do you think more depolarization will occur? Do you think the height of the depolarization, the amplitude of the depolarization is going to be more? Now the cell membrane become more positive from plus 10, it was supposed to be plus 10, plus 20. Now do you think in this neuron will it become plus 50, plus 60, plus 70? No, it will never occur something like this. It will never occur. Doesn't matter how powerful your stimulus is. Even if it is a light stimulus, even if it is a powerful stimulus, the amplitude of the action potential, the height of the action potential is always the same. If there are 10 action potentials producing, the height of the action potentials will always be same. Maybe, for example, say this is a light stimulus, this is a powerful stimulus. Maybe the number of action potentials that are getting produced in the neuron, the number of the frequency of action potential may change. A little stimulus, less frequency. More stimulus, more number of action potentials, more frequency. Frequency may change, but the amplitude, the height of the depolarization, the height of the action potential is always going to be same. Again I am telling you, it's not like less stimulus means less depolarization, more stimulus means more depolarization. No, it's not like this. Okay, in this neuron, the height of all the action potentials will be the same, even if it is a less stimulus or more stimulus. Okay, so for example, look, this neuron, for example, the same neuron I am showing you. Look, first I am giving you light stimulus. It's powerful enough, okay, to take the resting membrane potential to threshold. So first what happened? Initially what happened? Look, here is the resting membrane potential, minus 70 millivolts, minus 70 millivolt. Here is the resting membrane potential. Here is the threshold potential, minus 55. Here is the threshold potential. Now look, first example, I am giving little stimulus, little. Okay, when you give little stimulus, what happened? From minus 70, it is going to minus 55. Okay, minus 70 to minus 55, it was going. So threshold is attained. So immediately what happens? There will be depolarization. So how much it is getting? Plus 10. There is overshoot. Okay, there is overshoot. Here it is 0. Now it is coming to plus 10, for example. Okay, now from here what happens? The inactivation gets closes. Once it is positive, the inactivation gate closes, the potassium efflux started, so repolarization is happening. Now repolarization, it becomes little hyperpolarized, and again it comes back to resting membrane potential. Okay, now in the same neuron, I am giving more stimulus. When I give more stimulus, I have told you, doesn't matter whether it is a little stimulus or more stimulus, once threshold is attained, if there are a million sodium channels, all sodium channels are opened. Don't think like whenever there is a little stimulus, only 10,000 sodium channels are opened. Whenever there is more stimulus, more sodium channels are opened. It's not like that. Once threshold is attained, all the voltage gated sodium channels are opened. Okay. So now when I give more stimulus, look what happened is the resting membrane potential minus 70 millivolts, and here I am talking about this is the threshold potential minus 55 millivolts. So voltage is going from minus 70 to 55. You gave more stimulus, so threshold attained quickly, maybe threshold is attaining quickly. So what happens? Immediately depolarization will happen. So it's a more stimulus, right? So more depolarization will occur. It will go to plus 20, plus 30, plus 40. No, it will come to plus 10 only. The amplitude is always same. Doesn't matter whether it is a little stimulus or more stimulus. Okay. So again depolarization same, plus 10 millivolts, offshoot happened. Okay, overshoot happened. Again repolarization, hyperpolarization, and resting membrane potential. So this is called as all or none. All or none means I have told you in the beginning. If you give a subthreshold stimulus, see, subthreshold stimulus means from minus 70, it is going to minus 65 and it is dying off. Nothing, no action potential produced. Don't think like, sir, you gave little action potential, little stimulus, no. From minus 72, you take it to minus 65, so little action potential produced, no. If you take it from minus 70 to maybe minus 60, no action potential is produced. But once you reach the threshold, 100% all voltage gated sodium channels will open, sodium comes into the cell, absolute depolarization. It will go to plus 10. Absolute depolarization. If depolarization happens, it happens to the fullest. Okay, it happens fullest. Okay, it doesn't matter whether it's a little stimulus or more stimulus. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Subthreshold stimulus, no action potential. If you give a stimulus which is reaching the threshold, 100% depolarization. Okay, so with this I have explained you the all or none law. According to all or none law, amplitudes are constant. Okay, amplitude is constant. Amplitude means height. Frequency may change. For example, if I give more stimulus, more number of action potentials are produced, so that I can feel more stimulus, more pain. But the action potential amplitude is constant. Okay, so with this I have explained you how an action potential will be generated and how it is propagated on the membrane of the neuron, how it is running on the neurons. Okay, how it is self-propagating. Once sodium comes, the sodium will go to the surrounding area, taking the resting membrane potential to threshold, and from that area it is going to the next area. From that area it is going to next area. So sodium is going to the nearby areas, making the resting membrane potential reaching the threshold, depolarization. The depolarization allowing the sodium to enter into the cell. That sodium will go into surrounding area. So this is how the electricity, okay, the flow of charges. So positive followed by negative. That is a depolarization. So on the neurons there is a wave of a depolarization going, and the depolarizing areas again getting depolarized. Okay, something like this. So this is how the action potentials are propagated. So in the next video we'll be discussing about what is saltatory conduction, about what is the importance of myelination. Okay, hope the video is helpful. Thank you.